which focuses working at the nexus of technology and global public policy in both US and global forums in relation to the Internet and its changing role as a critical communications infrastructure. She's actively involved in Internet governance and post-WSIS activities, organizing and representing industry perspectives on Internet governance, including the Internet Governance Forum, ICANN, and key political issues related to the role of the governments in the global Internet. Ms. Cade, you have been involved so heavily, as we have seen from your resume, in Internet governance and Internet policies issues. And your efforts for the IGF have been remarkable concerning different themes, especially those related to positives and negatives of hyperconnectivity, online security, safety, copyrights, the future of the media and information. Can you please tell us how can we move one step further from online safety, which is actually we are all really concerned about here, to what we are learning about, which is digital citizenship, which is all about using technology appropriately. And how can we, in our emerging knowledge societies, especially in Africa, reconcile the requirements of accessibility and infrastructure with the dissemination of the Internet culture and new concepts of digital citizenship?
Thank you, Dr. Hoda. I am so pleased to also lend my appreciation to Madam Mbarak, to Chairman Kamel, to all of the leaders of Egypt who have been contributing to the spirit here at the 4th IGF and to the concept of what I think about as the emerging culture of the IGF. One of the things that I've seen as we have been working in the 4 years in the IGF is this concept of the evolution of culture. And certainly using the term here in Egypt, in a land that is so rich in the contributions that it has made throughout its long history to learning, to education, to science, to medicine, and continues to make, is sort of a rare opportunity for us to say, what are we doing now to bridge together a world that Jovan described as a world which has the digital citizens and the digital migrants. We heard earlier from Dr. Pepper about the incredibly fast changes that are underway in innovation. And one of the things that we all recognize is for digital migrants, like many of us in this room, we are coming into a new world where we aren't all that comfortable with some of the challenges or perhaps some of the experiences that we're having. And we're often very worried about how those experiences may be affecting our children. And for many of us, since we know that they're much more adept at understanding and using the technology, and even if they don't necessarily fully understand it, they somehow manage to adapt it in ways that are just incredible. So here we are in this new world with digital migrants and digital users, and we're driving toward even faster change, and change where some people are very, very, very cognizant of the risks that may be ahead or are present. We are, I think, really at this stage in our examination of the role of the Internet. It's very important we think about this as a journey, not a destination, and that we think about how we are all involved in preparing for that journey and how we can build together this concept of a culture of shared responsibility. And that means that every individual, whether they are a parent or a school teacher, they're a policymaker, they're a judge, they are a laborer, they are working in an office, every one of us has to think about, in the digital world, how are we acting as digital citizens? When we think about our own role and responsibility in the physical world, we often have assumptions about ethics and ethical behavior, but we're now in an environment where we have to be not only translating that into the online world, but thinking about how our children and our youth actually have a different experience than we do, because they're immersed in this world. They don't think of this as the offline world and the online world. They're integrating technology into how they communicate ways that technology can support. I've been thinking a lot about how different the IGF here in Sharm el-Sheikh has been, because you have been integrated into the workshops and the forums and even the planning. And I would say, led by, of course, and inspired by what we knew we would experience in Sharm at the IGF USA, where many of us worked to organize the IGF USA, we felt we just had to have one panel of youth. And we learned things from them that has led us to understand that we will have to plan with a lot more youth as we go forward in examining policies and determining questions that are about them. The roles of young people and youth in so many ways are reversed in our digital world. And we have to learn to listen to our young people in ways perhaps we have not before. So now I'm just going to say something about my experience in looking around the world at the approaches that are being taken, and to note that the Cyber Peace Initiative is a very unique model that integrates in ways that I have not seen in other countries the concerns about digital literacy, digital empowerment, capacity building, the involvement of parents and other caregivers and policymakers and lawyers and judges, and the youth themselves. So I'm particularly interested to go back to thinking about how we develop this and evolve this culture of responsibility for an online world. The unique and important contribution of the IGF here in Sharm el-Sheikh has been imbued with the spirit and vision of Egypt's view of how the internet can empower. So on the journey that I see ahead of all of us in creating and enhancing a culture, I see a role for us to remember, as some of my other panelists mentioned, that we have had all these experiences here, but the beauty of the IGF is that we take back with us an ongoing interaction that will bring us together again in only a year, and to examine the enhancements we've made and that youth will make with us in that culture that we need.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Now, we were talking about technologies, about legal issues, policies, regulations, and then we moved to capacity building, development, and how actually the new young generations will act on the online world. And finally, we'll come to some risks. So I'll try to